What is up, y'all? Welcome on back to another review. 28 years later comes out on June 20th. So I thought this was the best time to go back and visit the first two movies of this franchise. And we're going to start off with obviously the OG one, 28 Days Later. It has been a while since I have seen this movie, not nearly as long as I've seen 28 Weeks Later, but I've always really loved both of these movies, especially 28 Days Later. I've seen it numerous times over the years, so I am definitely excited to talk a little bit about this movie and kind of refresh y'all's minds on just how great 28 Days Later. So for those uninitiated to it, 28 Days Later involves a rage virus being released. They had some scientists and they had infected monkeys. Monkeys got out, and then it eventually spread the rage virus through blood, saliva, bites, anything like that. So it's your typical zombie-like movie, but they do throw in some fresh ideas into the mix that makes this one of the more terrifying examples of a zombie apocalypse movie. What's funny about this movie is you could not find 28 Days Later anywhere. It wasn't on digital. They didn't sell the DVDs anymore. It wasn't on any of the streaming services. You could legitimately only watch 28 Weeks Later. That is until they announced the release of 28 Years Later, and they finally released 28 Days Later on digital. And I still don't think you can find any of the DVDs out there. Luckily, I have one of the old DVD copies when this first got released. So I'm one of the few. So jumping into 28 Days Later. Look, I think when you look at this movie in terms of where does it stand as legacy in horror movies or just in cinema in general, I think this is one of those movies that you absolutely have to watch before you die. If you had this movie in your top 10 horror movies or top 10 favorite movies of all time, I would not argue with you. I think this is one of the best movies of all time and definitely in that conversation for sure with horror movies. And going back through this movie, I guess I didn't we don't all get terrified by movies nowadays. Horror movies, whether or not a horror movie is absolutely scary is subjective to the viewer. And I've never really thought about these movies being scary until I watched it this time. And I don't mean like I had a bunch of jump scares and I was terrified. I just think some of the elements that they include in this movie, like, they're kind of terrifying, to be honest with you. And it's a lot of what they do with the zombies or the infected, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to call them zombies throughout this review. To me, there's always something terrifying about an unpredictable entity or villain or anything along those lines. And I think when you look at like The Walking Dead, which this movie preceded that franchise, The Walking Dead had more of a slow moving force throughout their series. But when you get the type of zombie that is running full force towards you and not stopping no matter what, I think that is absolutely terrifying. And I think 28 Days Later just does it so damn well with a lot of the camera shots, the angles, and then on top of everything, you care for the characters a little bit, which we're going to dive into this a little bit more. I'm just kind of hitting the high points of this movie. And I think all of that just puts you on the edge of your seat, builds a ton of tension in every single scene. You never know who's going to die, who's going to get bit, what's going to happen. And I think that leads this movie to a very, very suspenseful horror movie. And there's a lot of terrifying things that goes on in this movie that I guess I didn't really pick up on, years ago. And now that I'm kind of looking at it with a more critical eye, you start to notice those things and you start to realize just what they were able to accomplish by making this movie. So if you couldn't tell, I really, really love this movie. And one of the things that I really want to start off with talking about when you go back and revisit this movie in anticipation of the new one coming out, I don't think it's talked about enough of how this movie looks. I know a lot of the stylistic choices with the filming and the camera shots and the close-ups. I know all of that was purposeful. for sure. It almost has this homemade video look to the entire movie. And I have not watched the movie on DVD in many, many, many years. This was the first time that I watched it digitally, if I'm not mistaken. And I will say, I don't know if it was the digital conversion or whatever. It looks like you are watching a YouTube video from like 15 years ago. The quality of the movie is not great. The cinematography is definitely off for sure. It's not the best looking movie out there by any means, but that is a stylistic choice, if I'm not mistaken. Y'all could correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Danny Boyle went with that choice from the very beginning. And with that choice, with that stylistic choice, I think this makes it one of the more unique looking movies out there, for better or for worse. This movie has a lot of close-up shots, along with like this fast-paced, like shaky camera look to it, and it adds a little bit of chaos to the movie. Like, you never know what's going to happen, and it adds a little bit to your anxiety that, again, I didn't notice on my previous watches. The chaotic camera shots really add fuel to the fire when it comes to the anxiety that you're feeling while watching this. And again, I think they went for a specific look with this movie, and I think they nailed it. I don't know of any other movies out there that kind of look like this and then have the impact in pop culture or in cinema that 28 Days Later had. Like, this movie should not work from the get-go. The way it looks with the close-up shots, everything, it shouldn't really work, but God damn it, guys. Like, every fucking thing about this movie works. The grungy look, very minimalistic in terms of production value. It's just crazy how great this movie is, considering all of the shortcomings that it uses in the actual filmmaking process. So yeah, I wanted to get the look of the film out the way so I can just dive into some of my favorite parts of this entire movie. So obviously, full spoilers ahead. So if you have not seen 28 Days Later, you're interested in the brand new one coming out later this month, I highly recommend pushing pause on this video, going and buying 28 Days Later, because it is that fucking good, and watch it and then come back for this review. But this movie's been out for 20 plus years, so by all means, you kind of had your chance up to this point. But full spoilers from this point forward. With any good horror movie, you have to have a number of things. And to me, when I go for a horror movie, I want to see something unique. I want to see something that is terrifying, because that's what I go to horror movies for, is to be scared and feel a sense of tension or dread or atmosphere, something along those lines that makes me feel like there is absolute fucking evil happening. And then the other element to a horror movie that I really want to happen, but it's not necessarily a make it or break it thing for me, characters. I can get away with maybe a basic bitch storyline as long as it's terrifying and as long as some characters are good. And to me, this movie really nails the characters. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're the best characters in any horror movie, because they're not. But I think what they're able to do throughout this 2-hour runtime is the fact that they're able to make you care for all of these characters in different ways. I think when you have Jim, obviously he's kind of us. He has our perspective going into this. We don't know what the hell's going on. He does not know what the hell is going on. And I think they do a great job of kind of setting that all up, especially at the very beginning of the movie. That opening is just really fantastic. I mean, we have our main protagonist waking up, dong fucking hanging out and everything, which I remember watching this movie when it first came out, and I want to say I watched my mom, and I remember her reaction being, "Oh my God, there's his wiener." And I remember her fucking saying that to this day. It is one of those things that is just ingrained in my brain from watching this movie. And it's just funny to me. So we have his dong all hanging out. He's walking through the streets looking for people. It's absolutely nobody, nowhere. And he just has no idea what the hell has happened. And the score and the music just slowly builds. And as that music builds, he's kind of starting to piece things together. And that's when the music kind of crescendos. And then it kind of just stops. And you get lulled into the sense of like false security where you're like, oh, okay, well, they're just trying to fake us out. And then he goes into the church, and then that's when all the infected people show up for the first time. They did a really great job of playing with your expectations, not only in this scene, but in a lot of scenes. It's just like, okay, well, the music's building, so something's going to happen. And then nothing ever happens. And then probably a couple minutes later, that's when shit actually starts popping off. And it's just like, damn, that was a really good fake out. And that's one of the things I really love about horror movies. And any good horror movie is gonna have those types of sequences where it really plays with your expectations. Jump scares are like bottom of the barrel shit for a horror movie. Like anybody can do a jump scare, but it's the moments that they play with your expectations that really get you. And that to me makes up some of the best horror movies of all time, if they can just play with your expectations just a little bit. And then going through that scene, I think they do a great job early on of establishing not only the rules of this world, but really establishing the fact that this movie and this world is absolutely fucking violent. Now, I get it. It's a zombie movie. It's going to be violent. Oh, they have gore. And that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in terms of, like, Jim is back at his house. He finds that his parents have killed themselves, and they even left him a little letter on the back of one of his pictures, and they overdosed. And it's a really dark moment for not only Jim, but for this movie in general. And right after that, they're still in the house. It's a little bit later in the evening, and he's watching home videos. And that's when a couple of the infected jump through the fucking door and attack him. And again, playing with your expectations a little bit, lulling you into this false sense of security. You don't know that a jump scare is going to happen. And that to me just elevates this movie in the horror genre, with the fact that they are playing with those expectations numerous times in different ways. Jim is the reason why they are back at his house. And then Mark ends up getting infected, and Selena doesn't fucking hesitate and just chops this dude to pieces. That establishes a very dark and violent world that Jim is now kind of going through. We are Jim in this scenario because we have no idea what's happening in this world, just like he doesn't know. But yeah, pretty good characters all the way around. Jim, Selena, but then we have the father and the daughter. We have Frank and Hannah, which I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a father and I have kids. Maybe it hits me a little bit differently watching it this time around, but I really connected to both of those characters differently this time around than I did previously. And I've really liked that relationship. And when Frank eventually gets infected, heartbreaking, like truly fucking heartbreaking, the way that it happens. Like, he is so desperate to get his daughter to safety, to get her to a place where they can maybe regroup or rebuild civilization. He's so desperate for that when he doesn't see or get any of those answers initially when he gets to the brigade, he just kind of goes off. He becomes angry and loses his temper, starts kicking shit. And there's even a crow, and he's just getting annoyed by this crow that he ends up going to kick the little pole that he's on, and ends up dropping a blood droplet into his eye. And then this really heartbreaking sequence of him turning into one of the zombies while his daughter watches is just, man, it hits you differently. I'm just going to say that. It hits you differently, and it sucks because Frank was such a good character, and for him to go out in a way that he was just pissed off that he could not get his daughter to a safer location. It was just like one step forward, two steps backwards kind of thing. Before he even turns, he realizes he's infected. He's telling her he loves her and telling her to get away. And then that's when we have Jim kind of coming in there, and he's hesitating for a second, and he realizes, oh, fuck, I have to take this dude out. And before he can do it, the dude gets popped by the army brigade that finally shows up. And again, just a very heartbreaking scene if you're a parent. But this time around, Frank and Hannah, I thought they were great characters. I thought they did a good job of making you care for them. So when all of these moments happen throughout the movie, it sucks, you know, it makes you invested in the storyline, invested in every scene, that when you lose one, you're like, fuck, damn, that just hits you right in the feels. And then before all that happens, we have the tunnel sequence, which I think is just phenomenal horror. to me, I think that is just a phenomenal sequence. One of the best sequences in the entire movie for sure. Just absolutely fucking terrifying. I mean, they did a great job of really setting up that scene and making you afraid of all the infected, that when it actually happens, it hits so much harder. And I think they absolutely earned this moment. And really, nothing happens in this scene in terms of like our characters being threatened. Like none of them get bitten, none of them have to fight the infected off or anything like that. And again, that's why I think the scene gets elevated just a little bit, is because you're expecting some shit to go down, but really nothing ever happens in the sequence other than the infected are chasing after our characters. And I just think they did a great job of kind of building that anxiety within you, that it puts you on the edge of your seat. And the score there also really elevates the scene for me as well. But the anxiety you feel in the scene is, one, because of the characters, two, because they have set it up and told you numerous times that the infected are scary as shit. So when it actually happens, when you have this horde of infected coming for our characters, it's anxiety inducing for sure. Now, I do want to end this review with the end of the movie, obviously. And I think it's very easy to go into a horror movie like this and give us some cliche villains, some people we don't like, the main antagonists of the movie other than the zombies. I think it's super easy to go the cliche route, the religious zealots or cannibals. I mean, we see that in just about every single zombie apocalypse movie out there. But what I appreciate about this army brigade is the fact that you don't have your typical main protagonist find this small group of people that everything just seems too good to be true, but it's not kind of scenario, which again happens in just about every single apocalypse movie. This time around, it's something just simple and basic that I really enjoyed about it. It's more of the premise that, okay, these guys, they just want women. They just want to have sex, and there's this whole branding it as repopulating the earth kind of thing that I thought was different enough. Even though it's basic, it's different enough from some of the other movies that we have gotten out there, and an apocalypse style movie, that it does set it apart just a little bit. Again, it's a basic premise for our villains, but it's enough to change it up a little bit. And then the moment where Jim is at the very end, he's killing that one soldier that was going to rape Selena. The dude goes absolutely crazy on everyone. And Selena is totally shocked by what's going on, that she doesn't believe that it's Jim at first. She thinks he's infected. And it's not until he comes into the light that she realizes that he's not infected. They have done such a great job of developing Jim as a character throughout this movie. He's always been a little bit hesitant to be violent towards not only just the infected, but just people in general that are not infected. He has that one little encounter with the kid at the little convenience store. But other than that, Jim doesn't do a whole lot of violent things throughout this movie. So when it comes time for the army brigade and he is just going ham on all of these fucking soldiers, I think it is a great little character arc for him to realize that to live in this world, to live in this violent world, you also have to be violent. But yeah, guys, I absolutely loved 28 Days Later, revisiting this movie in anticipation for 28 years later. And I could talk about this movie for hours. I really do love this movie. I remember watching it last time. I want to say it was a few years ago that I watched this movie. And I remember thinking to myself, man, I don't know if this is as good as I remember it to be. And now watching it this time around, it actually ascends back into like some of my favorite horror movies ever. 100% go watch this as soon as you can. Buy it on digital. It's gonna look like dog shit, but the story and everything else is still there. It's still absolutely fantastic. So go check it out. 28 Years Later comes out June 20th. Next week, I am revisiting 28 Weeks Later, which I have not seen probably since it came out on DVD years and years ago. So I don't remember a damn thing from that movie other than that I really enjoyed it the first time around. So it's going to be interesting to revisit it and kind of compare it to this movie as we lead up to the release of the third movie in this franchise, which I am so fucking excited for. Which, by the way, if you are watching this review and you want to go see 28 Years Later with me and a bunch of our Patreon supporters and closest friends. We are doing a meetup on June 24th. It's a Tuesday, sometime that evening at the Movie Tavern in Covington. So if you're interested in watching this movie with us as a big group, that's where you can find us. Come check us out and come experience this movie with us for the first time. And hopefully it's going to be absolutely amazing. I have very high expectations for the new one. But guys, let me know down in the comments below of what you thought about 28 Days Later and whether or not you're excited about a new trilogy of movies in this series. With that being said, that's going to be it for me. I will catch y'all next time on another episode. Latest.